Division of Forestry and Wildlife. I'll be today's ESRC public meeting chair. Before we get started today, just a couple reminders. Please note that this meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. Please do not use the Zoom chat feature as this is not visible to everyone in attendance today. If you'd like to provide verbal testimony, you may do so via Zoom. If you'd like to provide testimony via email, please email that written testimony to the following email address, which is dofaw, D-O-F-A-W, .hcp@hawaii.gov. With me in the conference, with me here on Zoom is our DOFA HCP staff, and I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
Aloha kako. I'm having camera difficulties, but Jesse Adams, HCP coordinator.
And Gigi, there we go.
Aloha kako, Ojavana ko inoa, and I'm an HCP intern.
Also today we have our State Deputy AG Danica, and should the ESRC need any counsel, Danica, are you with us today?
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Nice to see you.
You too.
Committee members, we can go ahead and introduce yourselves and state if anyone in the room, anyone is present with you in the room. Please remember to leave your cameras on during the ESRC discussion if possible. And we'll go ahead and start with Lisa.
Aloha, I'm Lisa Spain. I'm an ESRC member at large, and there is no one in the room with me.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, I see Melissa.
I think Melissa's fixing her camera.
Okay, we'll come back. Go ahead, Jesse.
Sorry, Jason. I think I need to actually do a hard restart. I restarted Zoom and it's still giving me the same problem. So I need to probably update a driver or something. So I'll be a few. Thanks.
Thank you. Jesse, go ahead.
Aloha, everyone. I'm standing in for Michelle Bogardus today on behalf of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I'm currently sitting at my cubicle in Cubeland in the federal building, so no one can hear the discussion, but there are lots of Fish and Wildlife staff around me.
Thank you, Jesse. Let's see, Kavika.
Aloha mai kako, Kavika Winter. Now the UH alternative representative. Nobody's in the room right now. I do have a minor child in the house. But he usually doesn't pay attention to anything I say.
Thank you, Kavika. Nice to have you here today. I think that's everyone on the committee that's available for today's meeting. So we'll move forward with the order of business as usual, and just kind of go over agenda items that we'll have on the docket today. So before we begin, I'd like to take a moment first to just acknowledge Lisa Spain will be stepping down from the committee. Her tenure is up. And so on behalf of DLNR chairperson and DOFA and the entire committee, we'd like to extend our deepest gratitude for her dedicated service and valuable expertise and tireless work to protect our native species. And yeah, Lisa, we really appreciate your time with us, and hopefully we can see you again in this realm, but we just want to take our hats off to you right now and just give you a nice aloha.
Mahalo. I'll miss you guys.
Yeah, we'll miss you too terribly. So hopefully we'll see you in passing and other avenues. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Lisa, if you wanted to have anything to say, go for it right now.
Oh, I just very grateful to you folks at DOFA for the hard work. This isn't easy work, and I'm just grateful that you've got, you know, a team, hopefully, that's building and stable, and you can make it through some of these really difficult challenges with what ESRC has to deal with. So, and the HCP team. So just mahalo to you and the rest of the committee members that will be starting and continuing. Thank you for your hard work. It's important.
Awesome, mahalo. Item 2 on our agenda today, we're going to go through some minutes and do approval of minutes. So we've been able to get through a large portion of our minutes. The original.
Jason,
Oh,
sorry, before we get into that, just quick question. Since I'm filling a new role now, I do have some questions about what that is. So executive session is probably the best way to do that. I don't need to do it now. We can maybe wait till agenda item 4, maybe, or before 4, or what. I don't know. It depends on how you want to run things and Danica's availability.
Okay. You had some questions about the rotating members to the university and roles and responsibilities kind of
Yes,
thing, or
roles and responsibilities for alternative members.
okay. Danica, I don't know if we need to go into executive session for that, but
Yeah, real fast. And if this doesn't answer your question, Kavika, feel free to move for executive session later. But basically, when you're sitting as an alternate for a main ESRC, why am I blanking on the word? Committee.
Primary seat.
Primary seat. You're just stepping straight into their shoes. So you have all the same duties and responsibilities. And when you and your co-designees and primary seat just need to keep each other informed so that they're seamless.
So, yeah, that part makes sense when
Okay.
the primary seat is unavailable and I have to step in. But on a day like today, when the primary is here and I am also here, does that mean I am to be seen and not heard, or can I also ask questions?
Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, no, for each primary seat, there should only be one designee present, voting and making comments.
Okay, so
So
I can be present, but I am to be seen and not heard, basically, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, you are kind of just an observer. I'm sorry to say. If you're
that's why I'm asking.
Second alternate, so I guess, so Melissa is the UH person today, right?
We're both UH, but I'm the primary, I think, as things are currently designated. I know in the past when USGS had 2 people who would attend, they both commented and asked questions, but only one person voted. Are you saying that it's different than that?
That's how it went in the past.
You could do that. This is interesting. Let's put a pin in that and I'll do a little research. But for now, let's treat Kavika more like an observer, but you can obviously still weigh in and talk.
But for now, shouldn't we just do it as ESRC has always done it instead of changing it until we have
Yeah, just do that.
otherwise?
But yeah, don't make any votes or recommendations, please.
Yeah. Well, he can, let me know the recommendations and I can make them or whatever. Because I think for it to be seamless, we want to essentially, the goal is to speak as one voice, right?
Yes.
So that when we swap out, it's not yanking things back and forth.
With that note, Jesse and Jason, do we still have quorum? 2, 3, 4. Because we can't count Melissa and Kavika as.
We
Yes,
don't have
Danica.
quorum.
We do not have quorum now.
We have Jesse Hallman, we have 1 UH seat, we have Lisa Spain, we have Jason. So we have 4 people.
4. Yep.
That's quorum, right?
Yep, that is quorum.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, cool. Thank God. I was like, oh no. Yeah, let's just do it as it's always been done. But now it's clear for the record that Melissa is the voting UH person of the day.
Okay, works for me.
And
thank you for the clarification.
And I think the way the USGS handled it in the past is when introductions took place, they just stated who was the voting member for the day.
Okay. And sorry if you said that, I might have missed it.
No, I don't remember if I said it. Sorry, like while I was waiting to log in, the whole cup of coffee spilled all over my computer and stuff. So I'm a little discombobulated.
Oh,
should be okay.
Yeah. Wonder if that's connected to the.
No, I don't think so.
I'm kidding.
I had opened the executive session link first, and so that was open. That's why it wasn't letting me have the camera on for Zoom. Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, if something changes, I will flag it and we can you know, someone can move to go into executive session, but let's just proceed that way for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danica. We'll make note of this as we do introductions to in the future, as we have rotating seats to kind of make that identification of who's going to be the voting member at that time. All right. So yeah, item 2 is our draft meeting minute approval. On the original agenda, there was a long list of meeting minutes. Not all of them are going to be up for approval today. I think 75% of them will be up. And so we'll go through the April 19th, 2024. We'll go through the August 15th, 2024. We'll go through the April 10th, 2025. We'll go through the April 24th, 2025, the August 22nd, 2025, February 6th, 2026, and February 26th, 2026. Minutes from March 12th and 15th that were listed on the agenda were already approved with amendments were needed for those. So we made those amendments and posted those. And so those are up on the website, although they were listed in the agenda. So when we get to that agenda item, we'll go through this again. Item 3, let's see, approval of the remaining minutes will be deferred to our next meeting. So whatever we don't catch in this one, we'll catch in our next. Our objective over the last couple months was to get all the minutes done, so we're like totally up to date with everything for the ESRC. So we're just about there. Item 3 will be informational briefing on vertical access wind turbine. VAWT is the acronym for that technology. HCP staff will provide a summary of this item. The committee members are then invited to make preliminary comments if they'd like at that time, and that will be followed by a presentation from Kaze Power and the Pacific Housing Assistance Corporation. We'll open the floor for comments for ESRC discussion. And then item 4, we're going to have some updates on the HCP program focused on the status of projects in review and preview of upcoming project amendments, just to give you guys a little update on things and let you know what's coming forward. The purpose of this item is to have a general discussion of future workload for DOFA and the ESRC, and evaluation of shifting a meeting to like monthly meetings. We'd like to see if we can try to get something going each month, at least once. If we need to do a little bit more, we'll reach out, like emergency things we need to get through or need review right away. But we're hoping to try to get a monthly meeting going here. And then after that, we will go into adjournment. Yeah, so I guess at this point, do you guys have any questions with the order of business today? No questions? All right.
Jason, sorry, this is Jessie. Just want to let you know that because of current federal policy, I'll have to step away for the wind discussion.
Okay, no problem. We'll go through the minutes, and yeah, before the wind discussion, we'll make a note that you'll be not participating in that part. So then we will lose quorum at that moment. So Jesse, how are we going to handle that? We're not voting on anything, so I guess we can continue to go through and go through presentations and whatnot, and have some discussions and things like that. And so I think we'll still be okay. So we'll go ahead and move on to approval of the meeting minutes at this time. We'll begin with the approval of meeting minutes of April 19th, 2024. And if anybody had any corrections in the meeting minutes, please let me know now. And if there's no objections, we can kind of move forward. So do I see any objections to approving the meeting minutes as distributed? And I see nothing. So hearing no objections for the meeting minutes for April 19th, 2024, these minutes will be approved. Moving on to the approval of meeting minutes for August 15th, 2024. Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes and questions? I'm usually looking at folks on a big screen, so I kind of have to scroll through the Zoom cameras. It looks like there's no objections to approving the meeting minutes as distributed. Hearing no objections, the August 15th, 2024 meeting minutes are approved. Moving on to the approval of meeting minutes from April 10th, 2025. I did notice a few typos in the April 10th meeting minutes. On the third page, second paragraph, I think this was a conversation Melissa was having, and it says mules, M-U-L-E-S, and it should be newels, as in Newell Shearwater. So it kind of talks about mules flying around. I thought it was kind of funny, but we'll go ahead and update that. And I also did notice one thing last night on a discussion about Kauai birds and Norwegian Cruise Line. And we were in the discussion of talking about if birds came down on the boat in Kauai and they were sailing to Maui. Why are the birds going to Maui and not Kauai? And it's because the ship was sailing that way and went into a rehab going that way. But I think we'll listen to the video and update that page to last paragraph of the April 10th, 2025 minutes, and just fix that paragraph to read a little bit more clearly. Did anybody else have any objections to or questions about the meeting minutes for April 10th, 2025? Okay, hearing no.
Jason, just a quick question about that. So when you're preparing the minutes, I assume things are typically word for word, and obviously when things are spoken out loud in conversation, they often aren't as clear when they're transcribed. So what's the general practice as far as, are you saying that you typically go back and try to make it make sense from a written perspective, as opposed to just being a pure transcript?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a summary of what happened. So it's not a pure word for word verbatim kind of thing. And I think sometimes when things are not coming out super clear, we kind of rewrite it to where we're getting that point across. And so of course, when we have the minutes out there, anybody can go to the video and listen to the actual time. But if I do see some typos or something and something that we're going to publish, I want to address those right up front.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so if I don't hear any objections for the April 10th, 2025.
I see a hand raised, Jason.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Not sure whose hand that is.
That's me, Jesse Adams. It's gonna be saved for another time, but I do want to get some direction from the committee, because we've had a variety of styles of meeting minutes that go from kind of more of a minimal approach to this more kind of robust approach that gets into dynamics of a conversation. And I just wanted to get a read from the committee on what they prefer so we can standardize that moving forwards.
I mean, I'm not going to be reviewing them in the future, but I would say the little more robust is better, just because it helps us remember the context of the conversation. And I think when they're generalized more, sometimes it's hard to remember.
Detail, is that what's going on?
Yes, Jason, we're still doing timestamps every 10 minutes, and we're just trying to straddle the line between not over summarizing, but also not doing verbatim for those 10 minutes. So we're just trying to find that sweet spot, which it sounds like that's what the committee's looking for.
Okay. And it sounds like that's where our minutes are currently.
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right. All right, so April 10th, 2025, no objections. We'll go ahead and approve those minutes with the amendments that I put out there, just take care of that house cleaning. Next, we have the approval of meeting minutes for April 24th, 2025. Do I see anybody have comments or corrections for these set of minutes? Okay, hearing no objections, the minutes are approved for April 24th, 2025. Couple more, guys. moving on to the approval meeting minutes of August 22nd, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes in question? Okay, are there any objections to approving the meeting minutes as distributed? Hearing no objections, the minutes are approved for August 22nd, 2025. Thank you. Moving on to the approval of meeting minutes for February 6th, 2026. Are there any corrections to the minutes in question? Is there any objections to approving the meeting minutes as distributed? Hearing no objections, the meeting minutes for February 6, 2026 are approved. And lastly, we have approval of meeting minutes for February 26, 2026. Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes in question? Is there any objections to approving the meeting minutes as distributed? Hearing no objection, the minutes are approved for February 26, 2026. Thank you all. We will get these things posted with whatever corrections need to be done here shortly, and they'll be on the ESRC website in the meeting archives. And we're doing some adjustments to the website too to access documents and things a little bit more easy. And so we'll be sharing some of that information with you guys as needed. Item 3 is DOFA staff will now provide a summary of the vertical access wind turbine VAWT project. And I'll give the mic to Jesse if you're ready for that.
Good morning, everybody. Just want to recognize that committee member Lindsay Young entered. So moving forwards, I just have a very brief summary because the folks from Kaze and Pacific Housing are going to paint in the fine details. But basically, this started with an application for a de minimis ITL that was sent to us in January, which I do really have to credit Kaze with being very on top of things. That's the first time that we've actually received an application in the appropriate order. So thank you, Kaze, for doing that. They want an
Sorry,
evaluation.
Jesse, can I ask you a quick question? I don't understand
Sure.
what you mean by de minimis.
We're a de minimis ITL is not something that we would issue. I think this was based on the original design that Kaze had for these turbines. They had some accreditation in Japan. That's where this technology is coming from. So they just wanted to have some type of protection in case there was take, but they felt that the likelihood of take was very small. So I think it was just a procedural thing, perhaps not understanding the process, but at least entering into a consultation with us, just a different avenue for consultation. So we would not issue a de minimis ITL.
Okay, I think I understand. Thanks.
So just thanking Kaze for entering the consultation process with us. This was in January. Their original design of the turbine, you can view one of these in Kaka'ako. It's across from the Entrepreneur's Sandbox by the Gold Bond building, if you folks ever want to check it out. The design has since changed, and Jason can go into some details on that, provide more information. But this is really a watershed moment for DOFA. We've never evaluated a new technology for take. So we're reaching out to ESRC for their expert input and scientific guidance on this. We're also talking with our wildlife managers on Hawaii Island where these will be installed. That's the first test site outside of Waikoloa at a housing development. And then we're also working with Fish and Wildlife Service and other folks that are familiar with wind, some of our Tetra Tech folk that work on other projects, really to kind of get to grips with what this technology is and if there could be take and how we would handle that. So that's why you folks are here today, is to get a preliminary briefing on this. We'd like to collect some thoughts from you and then we can continue on with our evaluation process.
Thanks, Jesse. I just wanted to, since Lindsay came in the room a second ago, Lindsay, if you can just introduce yourself and let us know if anybody's in the room with you, and we'll continue on. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Aloha, my name is Lindsay Young. I'm a member at large, and no one is in the room with me.
Awesome. Welcome.
So for the presentation today from the applicants, it'll be twofold. We'll have one from Jason. Jason represents Kaze, so he is the manufacturer of the turbine. And then we have Lacey on the call as well, and she is with the housing project, so she'll speak more to that. And with that, I don't have any further summary or introductory information, so I'll pass it off to Lacey and Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate your time, and thank you for the members of the committee for being present and for having the opportunity to talk to you about what we're doing today. So I can... Okay, I see. Thank you, Lacey. I was going to share my screen. So today we're going to be talking about our vertical wind axis turbine and telling you a little bit more about the technology and why we're here today. So thank you again for your time. So today we really want to walk through on behalf of DOFA, we're present to really talk about our technology, and we want to be able to walk through the technology in detail to give you guys a good understanding about how our technology is very different than current wind technology that's out there today. And so in today's discussion, we'll be going through details about the differences between vertical axis wind turbines and our horizontal wind turbines. We'll be talking specifically about our project in Waikoloa, and then going through recommendations from DOFA and resources to navigate what our process is going to be like in our installation and monitoring program. So Kaze Power's mission is to deliver clean power to Hawaii in a wildlife compatible system that is really tailored to our environments. Our technology is focused around vertical axis wind turbines, and we've been engineered specifically to reduce bird and bat strikes. And so we're excited to be able to work more with other people within the state to develop systems and install more of these systems. If you see in Kaka'ako, as Jesse mentioned, we do have a test unit that's operational, and we're excited to be on our third year of operation there with HCDA in our testing in Kaka'ako. So
Wait, sorry, I'm not familiar with where that is. Where is it? So I can go check it out.
Sure, it's in Pier 1 on Ilalo Street, next to the Sandbox or directly next to the John Burns School of Medicine.
Is it on the ground or up on the top of a building?
It's on the ground. It's in the parking lot.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
So we're excited to be able to consult and get the recommendations of DLNR and DOFA to ensure that our project that we develop is protecting the wildlife of Hawaii. And so, some of you might ask, what is a vertical axis wind turbine system? And the main primary difference is that as you see the horizontal axis turbines that we have in Kahuku in the North Shore, the axis is horizontal and the blades are spinning horizontally. The vertical axis wind turbine is where the axis and the axle is really standing vertically, and the blades are rotating from that vertical axis. And so that's really the primary difference in the technology and the design. So right now we'll take a closer look at the system that we're installing specifically for Project in Waikoloa. The system is a self-contained hybrid platform, and what that means is that it is both wind and solar power attached to a single system. The tower stands roughly 40 feet tall and about 8.5 feet wide, and is rated to do 10 kilowatts at about 25 miles an hour. So the system operates on omnidirectional winds, means it can generate power from taking winds in any direction, and is made primarily of steel and aluminum with carbon fiber blades. And so the system is 90% recyclable, and is designed to withstand 150-mile-an-hour winds. So due to its design format and its form factor, it does operate with low tip speed. And so it makes its power with low RPMs. To give you an idea about what it looks like, this is photos from our production line. We currently produce 3 units a month. And you can see that the structure is hardy. It's a large steel structure, and the frame system is really designed to both protect the blades from the outside world and protect our environment and flying species from entering the inside of the system. So the difference between horizontal and vertical wind axis, as I mentioned, really is its balance and its safety. And so vertical axis wind turbines, there's really few moving parts, which allows it to have a greater life cycle than horizontal, and it allows it to be extremely efficient in its power production per square foot in its footprint. And because of its vertical access, it also makes it extremely environmentally friendly. And so some of the biggest differences of what you'll see between our system and what we see today in conventional turbines is the sheer size. Horizontal access wind turbines can run about 150 feet tall with a tip length, which is massive piece of equipment, and the foundations are monolithic, and so they're oftentimes 30 feet or larger in order to hold the equipment up. On the vertical axis side, we run much smaller in size because we're able to be more efficient in our footprints, and so our size is about 40 feet, and our foundation slabs are 11-foot square by 4 feet deep per turbine. So it's very compact in comparison. And so because of that compact nature, we have a very small swept area in comparison to the horizontal wind turbines. And so that small swept area creates a lower tip speed by design. And so that creates a very safe equipment for itself in the environment that it's installed in. So even though that it does have a low startup speed of 2.5 meters per second, it's designed to start up quickly and operate in low wind speed, but its frame nature in our design format allows it to be very safe and is looked at from animals and bats and birds and bats as a single structure. So our system really looks like a monopole versus a horizontal system, which has thoroughfares between its blades that are really the cause of its take. So the design features in vertical axis wind turbines is again particular to its relevance in wildlife. We comply with HRS 195D, and vertical axis wind turbine technology is uniquely positioned to meet the safety requirements in Hawaii. So because of reduced tip speed, again, allows us to operate much slower than conventional wind turbines, we are able to be much safer and operate in many different environments. And so our airfoil design opens up an air gap between our blade systems, which eliminates unwanted air pressure, and it makes the surrounding air less disturbing and more harmonious in the environment. So our cut-in speed, as I mentioned, is very low, so 2.5 meters per second, and we can start our power generation from omnidirection. So any direction the wind comes in, we're able to capture that and effectively transfer that wind into power. And so currently we are looking at locating there's existing site where there's existing disturbance. And so we're not disturbing any additional wildlife or habitat. And so we're amongst existing infrastructure to make sure that what we are installing is going to work well. And we've got our programs for monitoring and wildlife consideration fully dialed in. And that's what we intend to do for our Waikoloa Village project. So Project Wildlife and Species Interaction today, where we're setting up our first project, we do have seabirds, nene and bat that do cross over the mountain corridors and across the coastal areas. However, according to a 2024 wildlife study that was done on the site, conducted by ACOS, there were no evidence of nene or moths or other wildlife in the area. And it's also important to note that the site itself, where the project is at, is a prior UXO site. And so this has been a disturbed site for some time. But thankfully, we're able to repurpose it with the current project and excited to see how our wind turbines operate in this area. And again, we will be prepared for bat observation, bat and bird observation. And because we do operate with no air pressure impact on our blades, there is a minimum barotrauma risk for the bats. And we will be observing both acoustic and thermal imagery monitoring on our system to make sure that we understand the full awareness of what the environment is like in our area. And again, any project lighting that occurs will happen in accordance with DOFA recommendation as well. So on project evaluation, yes,
Sorry,
please go ahead.
Jason,
Thank you.
sorry. I noted that, you mentioned moths in that paragraph, but
Yeah.
initially my gut was that you were just talking about birds and bats. So I would encourage to pull out the invertebrates kind of as a key item to consider, because that portion of the island actually has a pretty large potential for blackburn sphinx moth interaction.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, and I think we could always talk more about what the findings of our ACOS study came out to be as well. I think, but we can always come back to that. So thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. So today our initial DOFA consultation is ongoing. We initiated conversations with DOFA in 2025 to fully understand what our process was going to be like as both an organization installing wind turbines and for our clients and partners who take on the projects. And so we're excited to be in front of the ESRC today and talk about our pilot project. And with the ongoing guidance of DOFA and active monitoring program, we feel like the project will be a success and we'll be able to fully be aware and engage with our environment without impacting it. Excuse me. Okay. And so today our voluntary monitoring program is really structured around a systematic search within the turbine footprint and prioritizing sites within the area to identify any potential impact and or take from the installation. As I mentioned, we are dedicated to a successful monitoring program and the installation of acoustic and thermal monitoring devices to help us fully have a understanding about the environment at night and how our system interacts with that environment. And then furthermore, down wildlife reporting as a process of our protocol is to just make sure that we can have people on site and do regular monitoring and walking of the area to fully understand what the impact of our operation will be like in this zone, in this community. So key takeaways today is that through DOFA's guidance, we've been able to fully understand, how the process works and the opportunity to identify gaps in our protocol and how to work with DOFA and collaborate for ongoing work. And so our monitoring protocol has grown significantly through the collaboration with DOFA, and we're excited to continue with the project and execute on our monitoring program for a successful project. So now what I want to do is dive into the project a little bit more. And for that, I'll have Lacey join us and tell us a little bit more about their exciting project.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. I'm Lacey Shimabukuro. I'm a development project manager with Pacific Housing Assistance Corporation. And we also have our director of project development, Karen Arakawa, on the line. Also, our construction manager, Chad Johnston with Bluestone Management, is joining us today. So this is our Nahale Makua project. We are leasing this 10-acre site from the County of Hawaii, and we're providing 140 workforce rental housing units for mixed income households. And Pacific Housing Assistance Corporation is a nonprofit affordable housing developer. Since 1980, we've developed 60 properties, and residents were welcomed into this project earlier this spring. Nahale Makua is located in Waikoloa on the west side of Hawaii Island, and the community includes 15 two-story residential buildings, and these buildings were given the LEED Gold certification recently. We also have a single-story rec center that includes a community room and a computer room for residents to use, and our on-site property management offices are there as well. Jason had mentioned the moth survey that was done prior to construction in 2024. It was specifically to see if there were black-burn sphinx moth, and ACOS found no sign of moth activity there. So this is the location of our turbines. Last year, we contracted Kaze Power to provide the turbines that are going to offset the electrical demand for our rec center and our electric vehicle charging station. So you can see hopefully you see my mouse in this area here. You can see that there's a 35-foot grade difference from the bottom area where the parking is to the single family home up here. And as Jason mentioned, the turbines are going to be 40 feet tall. So we received our permit for the foundation work, and Kaze Power received their permit for the turbine and battery storage system. I'm going to turn it back to Jason.
Thank you, Lacey. As you can see, the project is well on its way. We're very excited about our final outcome. This is an image giving you a rendering about what the project will look like and where on site the project will be located. And so this hillside here has actually recently been cut in, and now it is a flat surface ready to receive a pad and what will be the turbine and solar system and battery storage that will go in that area. So that's what our final project will look like. And with that, thank you very much for your time. Mahalo for your time. I appreciate your guidance, and open up any questions of the committee or anything that I can help answer, understand.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Lacey. for the introduction and PowerPoint here. Uh, Interesting technology. I did visit the one in Kakako. It did look like a bird could land on top of it and sit there fine. The technology in Kakako is a little bit different than this. The blade system is more of a drum, where it's like a spinning drum blade, where it looks really hard for any wildlife to actually kind of get caught inside there. This new rendering looks, it's a little bit different. But of course, the technology is definitely, providing lower tip blade speed and whatnot. I guess I just had a few comments myself to start off would be we use a lot of like diverters and different things to kind of avoid wildlife from hitting structures like power lines and things like that. And so maybe having some reflective diverters on the structure that would deter certain species to try to avoid the structure itself probably would be a good idea. I did like how moving the infrastructure to a piece of property was fairly minimal disturbance happening because these things are on like a trailer kind of thing that's built just for that, and you basically bring it to the site and turn it upright and walk away. I know for bigger structures, if you guys are going to get taller with this, there will be some concrete pads that will be you will be moving dirt to put these things in. Of course, at the site that you're at right now, it looks like it's a berm that you guys built, and so no sensitive archaeological stuff may be at that site. But for future sites, you may need to do some consultation with the State Historic Preservation Department on where you're going to be mounting these on the environment, and if you're going to be doing taller structures, there'll be probably bigger cement pads and stuff. No guide wires. That's really neat to see. And you guys, I think some of these units may even be pulling solar also. So there's other things maybe connected to the structure itself. But yeah, my main one would be I can't really speak to invertebrates quite, and I'll leave that up to some other folks. But for bats, you have the low speed, which would help. Having diverters would help for other wildlife species. And then, yeah, it'd be great to. There hasn't been a lot of research on these things uh, over time, and so this is definitely a new technology for us. And so, seeing somewhat of a good, robust search efficiency program that goes with this to kind of see what may be happening over time would be good to see and get that data if there is any. Those are my 2 cents.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. I think we've had a lot of curiosity about this technology on the committee as offering an opportunity to reduce impacts that are seen by the traditional turbines. So we really appreciate your innovation in this space. With innovation comes a lot of uncertainty in that I did a quick search of Web of Science and other databases and a general Google search, and and if you know of research that's been done on impacts to wildlife, I'd love to see it, but I couldn't find anything. There's like references to one 1990 study or something that took place, but there's literally nothing in the published literature, which means that we're flying a little bit blind. So what we're going to have to do as a committee is base our decisions on kind of best available information and what we know about impacts of standing structures on wildlife. So for example, I don't think anyone would have thought that power lines would have been such a big deal for our seabirds because they're a relatively low standing structure. But the birds run into stuff that they can't see and that are in places that they wouldn't otherwise expect it to be. And so I think being aware that physical structures, even it's not just a spinning blade and the wind speed and all of that that matters, but it's a structure being in a place that the birds or bats or other things wouldn't expect it to be that can cause problems. So, for example, there are reports of Pueo hitting various kinds of towers because of them just being a physical structure sticking up where it wouldn't otherwise be. So I think Pueo are MBTA protected, not under the ESA, and they're only state listed on Oahu. But there's something that should be considered because they're relatively low density and they are a species of concern that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is considering for listing. There's not really enough data right now, but it's something that I think you should strongly consider, including impacts from Pueo striking tall towers like this. And similarly, if there's a whole bunch of these in a row, the possibility that seabirds going back and forth every single day to and from their nests at higher elevations might strike the towers if they're sticking up above the rest of the buildings in the landscape. So just something to consider and kind of the way that we would need to be thinking about it in the absence of other information. I would agree with Jason that what's going to be critically important in the absence of other information is data collection. So really effective monitoring from other spaces. Just out of curiosity, have you been involved in other HCPs? Is this process familiar to you?
No, this is the first process we've gone through.
Okay, so thank you. So what we've seen is that use of detection dogs is kind of the gold standard right now for making sure that you're detecting potential fallout. But search protocols are really important to make sure that if things are hitting the towers, you catch them, and that if they're not there, if truly this is a non-impactful kind of thing, that it passes the smell test. Because cats, dogs, other kinds of scavengers are going to pick those things off the ground, and then you won't detect them. And so if we are not able to have faith that in the protocols that are in place to make sure that you're detecting whatever does get killed, then that absence of carcasses, we're not able to trust that it's a true absence of killing endangered species. Does that make sense? So just if you're new to this process, kind of that way of thinking about things is really important. And so, yeah, and the other thing I would highlight is that things that are often used on the mainland for figuring out whether endangered species are going to be impacted, such as critical habitat designations or things like that, in the islands often fail to inform commercial operations of the potential impacts. And that's because most of our species that are impacted by wind or by structures like this fly back and forth between their nesting habitat and the ocean or around other spaces. So they're really, those flyways become important for bats. They're just a low concentration across the landscape. And so it's hard to know exactly where impacts are going to occur. The other species that's come up more recently, and that has to do with more of the ground disturbance. So like your building process and your maintenance processes, is Hyalaeus or the yellow-faced bee. And those are ground nesting, burrowing species, and some of them up on Maui. And so just something to keep in mind as far as those are a listed species that are in the ground, and it's more your ground-based activities that are possibly going to impact them. I have no idea if the turbines would impact them or not. There's very little information available, which makes it tough. So yeah, I think those are the thoughts that kind of came to mind, but a really huge thing I wanted to stick a pin in is that I'm seeing zero studies out there on actual impacts. Everything's very hand wavy. Oh, we don't think it's going to impact them. It has a smaller, horizontal footprint. And so we just don't think it's going to impact them as much, but no data. So for our committee's sake, we're very data driven, and there's nothing for us to base this on, which is difficult. Do you know if there are any habitat conservation plans or permits related to take on the mainland for these structures or similar structures?
No, I haven't seen anything like it.
Okay.
So we've been, our technology is tested in Japan for a little over 20 years. During that period, there was no known take. So, it really is difficult to get additional data without going through and conducting our studies. So we've been going through our study in Kakaako for some time, at least a few years now. And again, there's been no take in that site, or in the Kalaeloa site. So as we continue to observe the the system in operation, I think we can continue to get better ideas and just collect more data about it. But in our existing trials, we have yet to see any take in its operation.
And sorry, when you say no known take, two questions based on what you just said. Do you know what the survey or monitoring protocols were for the Japanese companies for the 20 years of trials there? And do you know, and can you tell us a bit more about your monitoring protocols for your tests to date? Because no known take, like I said, if you've got a location with a ton of cats, which Kakaako absolutely has a ton of cats, you're not going to detect the take. You're just not going to. And so it's just because something hasn't been detected doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And that's our job is to evaluate, like, can we trust that? So there's really standardized processes for saying, does the absence of something mean it didn't happen? So can you tell me a little bit more about the monitoring protocols? And if you have to dig it up, I understand, but if you can send us whatever you've got from the Japanese companies, that would be super helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a lot of their data, but I've got what we do here, and I mean in Kakaako, where there are a lot of cats, our system is fenced in. But our primary activity was really for the first 6 months was to walk the site on a regular basis, just kind of walk throughout the parking lot on a daily, to see, what the impact was, if any. We do host impact or vibration monitors on the system, both on the top and the bottom, to try to observe any impact to the machine. Excuse me. But so that would be our key identifier if there was an impact to the machine. We would see the vibration on the vibration sensor, and then we would have seen take. And so without having those two things connect, we identified or came to the conclusion thus far that we have yet to see take, or at least take impacted by the equipment. So
Okay.
that's where we're at with our current operation.
Yeah, thank you for your answers. I think you're in the best position to get data from the Japanese companies, so we would love it if you're able to obtain that. And while I cannot read Japanese, Duolingo has, I've only gotten so far with it. There are tools available that we can use to translate documents. So if you're able to obtain any documents along that, that would be really helpful. And I know there's other hands up, so I'll defer to that. But would just highlight that there's a lot of monitoring tools available. It's great. You've got the vibration sensors. It's great that you were walking around. If going through a formal HCP process, I'm sure you have very great experts here who will guide you through kind of the more exacting kind of monitoring that would be expected for a permit. I'll defer to, I think, Jesse's hand and then Jason's.
Thank you, Melissa.
Jason, as Melissa brought up, Kakaako does have a fair number of cats down there. I believe you told me that there was a second site where you had put one of these up down by Kalaeloa. Is that true?
That's a question for Jason. Jesse was asking if there was another site with a similar wind turbine at another location in Kualoa.
Yes, in Kalaeloa, there is another unit in operation, again with HCDA, and so that is also a test site.
Understood. Yeah, if you had data from that site, it could be potentially more informative than the Kaka'ako site. The committee would want any and all available information, but just highlighting that there was that second site that could be valuable if you have information from that. And then for Melissa, just to HCP office has also been really digging around for information on this. We reached out to the Japanese equivalent of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and haven't heard anything back from them. So definitely if Jason can provide more information, that would be very helpful. In conversations with consultants like Tetra Tech, since they have much more of a broad view of things that are happening on the continent, this design is new to them. There's nothing like this that's equivalent on the mainland. There are other styles of vertical turbines. My understanding is that they have more of like a proper impeller, like a propeller on the inside. So it's very different from this. So there could be a bit of proxy information out there. HCP office can definitely dig into that and try to find anything we can, but this design is very novel.
Thanks, Jesse. My comment was the one in Kakako and the one that you have in the other location, are they both the same technology with the drum rather than this blade situation in it, or is the one in Kailua similar to the one that you're showing us now?
They both operate a Darius drum style blade.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is for the one in Kakako, yes, you guys have a fence around it. It's just a small circumference for the fence. If birds were to hit the drum, they would probably continue flying for a minute and land outside that fence and then be predated by a cat. And so keep that in mind. And also, if you're going to be having these in locations where you're wanting to protect them and have like barbed wire on the fence, that would be something that we would ask for the barbed wire not to be on the fence, because that can have an effect to bats that may be in the area.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Are you good? Are you done, Jason?
Yes, go for it, Kavika.
Okay, awesome. Thank you to the other Jason for this. Is really great to see this technology emerging. Just some commentary for in general for ESRC. We brought this up several times in the past about because of the high amounts of take of the horizontal axis, the other kind of turbine, that maybe we should not be approving any more of those and only approving these vertical ones. And the comment we always get from the developers is this vertical access technology is not up to scale and this and that. And so it's really great to see this is emerging. I had sorry, you just closed your screen, but I was wondering if you could pull up that comparative slide you had between the vertical axis and horizontal axis turbines. I had some questions about that, particularly as like the scaling and how this if we can consider this an approaching scale. So I don't see a megawatt production comparison here. So I think you said that these do 10 megawatts. Is that
This is a kilowatt. We
a
are talking
kilowatt?
right now, right?
And so maybe HCP staff knows or anybody, how does this compare to what the horizontal axis does?
So
range?
in this size of turbine, we're really looking at microgrid or distributed power.
Mhm.
And so 10 kilowatts operating all day is enough to power several houses. And so, versus a megawatt, which is 100 times the size or capability of what we're talking about right now. And so even, we've engineered and designed large scale units, but that's, today we are focused in on our distributed power and our smaller scale 40-foot unit.
Okay, yeah, so that context is really useful. So this is more microgrid decentralized power strategies. How does this fit potentially into the smart grid that folks have been talking about a lot? We looked at that.
Yeah, one of the reasons why the HCDA asked us to set up a demonstration there in Kakako is both its surrounding within the environment. There's people walking and vehicles traveling around that area constantly. So it's really about the opportunity to capture power closer to where the demand is, and that's really what this technology is designed around. And so as distributed power resource, you can put the tower on top of the water pump for the water tower, and you could essentially operate independently. Same goes for bus stops or a telecommunication tower, where you can operate equipment independently of grid connection or transmission. So that is part of the design format.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Jesse, were you going to say something?
Yes, Kavika, I pulled up some facts for you. So looking at the power facts from HECO, dated 12/31/2025, looks like any of the facilities that we know about produce between 10.5 megawatts to up to 69 megawatts. 69 would be a facility like Kauai Loa that has many, many turbines. The 10.5 would be the currently unregulated hobby development on Big Island.
Okay. Thank you. And then so for the solar aspect of this, you didn't have solar in your schematic, but you had it in the actual photos. I was curious how much that adds to the 10 kilowatts. Is it significant or?
It's additional. It's in addition to the 10 kilowatts per unit.
And how much is that adding generally? Do you guys?
So
Just out of
depends on
curiosity.
the panels, but we like to use 600-watt panels, and so you can add another 1200 watts, 1.2 kilowatts to the overall system.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Let me see. And then it's great that this technology operates in various wind directions. I was curious, we get a lot of variable winds in Hawaii, so it'll come one way and then the other. Um, I'm just curious how that affects when the wind switches under the variable weather conditions, how that affects this technology.
It's perfect, actually. So our technology does very well in violent or turbulent wind conditions. So as the wind switches or changes directions, that's an opportunity for us to capture a gust. And so because we're a well-balanced system, a gust can keep us operational up until the next gust comes. And so we work really well with violent and turbulent wind conditions.
Okay. Yeah, and I wasn't quite sure what your comment was on the drum style blade that our Jason saw at Kakaku and the ones that are pictured here. I wasn't following if you explained it, the logic behind the change or how that impacts things one way or
Sure.
another.
Sure. So the drum kind of under high speed does create a little bit of a low pressure. When we open up the spacing between our blade systems to have that gap, what happens is that we create more airflow and reduce pressure into operations. That also directly translates to greater power generation. So by switching from the drum to the airfoil, we can make more power with less wind. And
What's
so
the purpose of the drum then?
the purpose of the drum, it was really a design feature to be able to capture wind in certain conditions.
Okay. Yeah, I need to go look. I haven't seen it. And just as a father with a Kolohe son, if my son was around that thing, he would love to throw a tennis ball at it to see how far the tennis ball could be hit. Have you folks tested tennis balls and other objects being thrown at it and to see how it impacts
Yes.
personality?
Yeah. Yeah, we have. Haven't gotten anything caught in there. So, so far we're good.
Yeah, because going
Maybe a
next to a housing
basketball.
development, I'm sure there's going to be lots of kids around who are
Yeah.
loving to test how.
Throw balls
Yeah.
inside. Yeah. Sure. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's great to see this technology emerging. Appreciate you coming before us to share it out and consult, ask for our mana'o.
I just had one question. I saw on the lower part of the turbine structure, there is kind of a grate or a screen. Have you guys thought about actually just putting a screen around the whole structure so nothing can actually enter the blade system?
We have looked at something like that, but it was kind of disruptive to rotation. So I think we have to keep looking into that and examining what a reflector or diverter might look like, in that circumstance. And just continue to watch, observe it in operation. So, but yeah, that.
Okay.
Well,
And
that
then
reminds me,
just
sorry, Jason, just one more thing real fast. Because our Jason mentioned about the reflectors, so I was just curious about if there are any lights on that thing, because lights can be attractant to both the moths and other things.
Right now, we will not put lights on the system. Perhaps there'll be lights in and around the area for servicing, but those would not be turned on around the clock. They wouldn't stay on.
my final question was looking at the infrastructure here in Kakako and talking with folks about that. I was told that, having multiple structures next to each other also creates some sort of wind vortex that helps the turbine. Can you talk about that a little bit, if that would be something similar with the structures and the design that you have presented to us?
Sure. Yeah. So, cluster formation is a mechanism where we can kind of take exiting wind and multiply it essentially. So, the wind coming out the back of the machine is a little bit less than it is coming into the front of the machine. So, it does take the wind and transfer it into energy, but there is wind that exits it. And so, as we put the units closer together, we can take the exit wind and turn it into a greater velocity for that exit wind and creating, turbulent wind on the backside, allowing a cluster or a tight formation of turbines to be effective. So the opportunity is to create more wind in the rear by having a cluster. And so, that's purely for power generation.
Thank you, Jason.
This is Lisa. I was just curious about the noise level associated with these turbines. I'm on Hawaii Island, so none, huh? I haven't been able to see the one in Kaka'ako.
They're pretty quiet. Yeah, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, so we operate around 40 decibels or less, and so that's about a good conversation. In most cases, the wind traveling around the unit is louder than the operation of the unit itself. So it is very quiet in design and no vibration. And so those are some of the features that we really design around to make it more functional in more use case scenarios.
Jason, can you speak to maintenance of the structure? You know, a lot of wind turbines, the horizontal style, every 20 years or so, they got to do a retrofit. It could happen more often than that. And the structure that's down here close to our office here, I was told that they're hermetically sealed, and maybe every 20 years you may just take a look at things. Could you talk to us a little bit about that and how often you would be yeah.
Sure. So no. The unit in Kaka'ako came from Hi, sorry, my internet wasn't in and out there, but the unit from Kaka'ako came from Japan. It was hosted on the Nagoya Sky Deck at the airport there for a little over 10 years. And before it started its home here, and it's been here for about 3 years. During that period of time, it's experienced both not only being on the ocean, but being around, pretty open environment. And so when it was taken down prior to Hawaii, it was taken apart. There was very little impact to the machine. The generators are sealed, and so there's very little impact to the generator systems. And so, we see a long life of this system. They're designed around a 50-year lifetime, with parts that are interchangeable as they need to be. But yeah, so, we there's very little moving parts, and so that really attributes to its ease of maintenance, and the ability to operate for a long period of time. There are things like bearings and blades that we want to keep an eye out on, but everything is designed to be modular, and so we can remove components without disrupting operation of the system, or without removing the system entirely. So but yeah, no, the design is meant for low maintenance, and so thankfully that's what we've experienced thus far in our operations.
Thank you. We have any other discussion from ESRC? Oh, aloha, Karen. I just saw you must have popped in a minute ago. If you can just introduce yourself, Karen. Thanks for being here.
Hi, sorry I couldn't get on earlier. Karen Corto with USGS, and yeah, I joined about 10:15. There's no one in the room with me.
Aloha.
Yes, yeah, sorry, I missed the presentation, and I'll definitely watch the video recording, try to get caught up.
Okay. Well, I guess we can see if we have any comments from folks in the public or on Zoom. Jesse or Gigi, can you check and see if we have any questions from anybody to note those?
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, there's no questions or comments on Zoom or the DOFA YouTube.
Okay. What about our HCP email?
Yes, Jason, checking that right now. We may potentially have some questions and or comments from Karina and or Janice. Janice is with our Hawaii Invertebrate Program. So if you folks have any questions or comments, please feel free to give those now.
Hi, yeah, this is Janice Matsunaga. I'm entomologist with DOFA. I was wondering if we could just get a copy of the biological surveys that EGOS did prior to the initial development.
Janice, yeah, we spoke to Jason about that. He's going to reach out to the company in Japan and see if he can get any materials on surveys that they may have done while these units were in Japan. and they don't have that information right now. So I think they're going to follow up with us and see what they can get to us.
Oh no, sorry. I think what I was asking about is the house, the home development. He
Oh, I'm
mentioned
sorry.
with kind of surveyed for moths before. The
Yes,
black.
we can provide that to you.
Thanks.
And I see we have Karina on here. Karina, if you have any questions or comments, you're a bat expert, so we'd love to get some insights from you, should you have anything.
Thanks. Yeah, I just had a question on, I saw a presentation PDF from earlier in the year, and there was a test unit at Kailoa. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
I was curious if bat monitoring was being done, around that area, because there are several published reports that show that there are bats active in those areas. And so I was just curious if monitoring was being done, or if there was any acoustic results. Thank you.
Thank you. No, so our Kailoa location, there is not bat monitoring occurring down there. But I appreciate the input, and certainly something that we'll look into.
Oh, actually, yeah, you mentioned you're doing thermal and acoustic in tandem. Could you tell us a little bit about how that's done, or how you're doing that? Thanks.
So our anticipation for Waikoloa project is to add both an acoustic monitor, which is a system that will hook up to our power within the turbine, and then have a microphone on the outside, elevated, and it'll take recordings, and then we can process those recordings through an online system that will tell us exactly species, time, place, and other things like that. And then the thermal monitoring is using an infrared camera to try to help identify anything that's in the area. So we intend to use multiple monitoring mechanisms, technologies to try to maximize our awareness.
Awesome to hear. Karina, I was wondering if you had any comments on that based on what kind of technologies are used or analyses.
I don't. I'm not sure what is being used, or what their programs are, unless I missed it earlier in the talk.
No, they didn't describe it in detail. That's why I was trying to get some. I mean, the ESRCs, I think our bat guidance is advising for both, but I'm not sure we go into detail about what kinds of technologies or analyses are
models
with those data. It's great to hear you're doing them. I'm just trying to make sure we're all on the same page and following the bat guidance.
Sure. I think on the acoustic side, we're looking at Wildlife Acoustics as a provider, equipment provider. And then we're still reviewing multiple thermal imaging, so there's a couple different technologies out there. So if there are recommendations, we'd be really open to any of that.
DOFA staff, do we have recommendations on that front?
Yeah, I think we do. Go ahead, Jesse. Sorry.
I was just going to say, this is an excellent opportunity for you folks to, in addition to familiarizing yourself with these technologies, as you do operate the turbines or own, the company that's producing these turbines rather, and that these turbines are being operated at the site. This is an excellent opportunity for you folks to look at some biological consultants that could definitely help you develop some of these plans and whatnot, but it's good that you're looking into the technology. As far as specific guidance, not that I'm aware of. That may be in the newer iteration of the bat guidance document that's underway. Otherwise, I don't have any specifics.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Looks like, folks, if there's any other questions, I'll leave it open for a few more, one more minute here. Or if, Jason, if you had any questions to the ESRC, you know, we're open to answer any questions that you may have.
No, not at this time. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to come before the committee and talk about what we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Jesse, did you have any final comments for Jason and folks?
I would just say, you know, thank you for being proactive, coming to us for consultation, starting this process. I know this is new territory for us as well, so we definitely appreciate you being upfront with it and initiating this with us. Also, just want to say, Jason, we don't have any questions or comments on the email.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jay. All right. Well, I think today we kind of have a short meeting today. I know everyone's probably busy, but our next item is adjournment. If folks, oh, I'm sorry, I'm missing something. Oh, sorry, Jesse. Item 4. We're gonna we'll move on to item 4 and then adjournment. Sorry, jumping ahead of myself. DOFA staff's gonna provide
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Lacey, and Chad. Aloha.
Thank you.
So yeah, item 4, we'll move on to item 4. DOFA staff is going to provide a status update on projects in review and a preview of upcoming amendments. So kind of our caseload, and Jesse's going to share some of that information now.
Thank you, Jason. I'm going to pull up a really short presentation. Give me a half second. All right. Once again, present review. I think we could just run it like this. So I'm just going to give you a real 10,000-foot view of current projects that the committee is working on and amendments that are in the works, just to get the committee to think about time commitments and scheduling. We want to make sure that we're evaluating these projects in a timely fashion to benefit our wildlife and plants first and foremost, and then also to make sure that we're moving these things along for our licensees and applicants. So we have a total of 6 upcoming amendments that are initiated. So this means that we're in active discussion with the licensees. They're working on drafts. We're providing technical insight and regulatory guidance to them. They've also engaged the service. So the agencies are working together with these folks to move forwards. So the first one is Napua Makani. They'll be giving us an amendment for Hawaiian petrel. The second is Kahuku. They'll be giving us an amendment for bats. The third one is Awahi. They will be giving us an amendment for Banram storm petrel. And then we have 2 amendments from KSHCP. Legal representation for Norwegian Cruise Line and one hotel contacted me. They're at a point where they would there's not much substance and they want to be at a meeting to speak directly to you folks about more substantive questions. So I can just say that they have initiated the amendment process and we are working on drafts. Contemplated amendments, ones where we do not have a draft yet, but the applicant, rather the licensee, has said that they are going to work on an amendment. That is Hokuala. And recently, KIUC is back in touch with us regarding the state process. We've been working with them on a variety of other items. There's a lot of moving parts with that project, easements, other things like that, that needed to be tackled. So they are now working with us on ESRC recommendations. Many of the recommendations that were given, they have worked through. There are a couple that we're still working on them with, but they would like to come back before the committee, most likely in Q4 of this year. So we'd be looking at additional meetings with them potentially 2 to 3 more meetings. So I'd like to propose a couple of committee operations and best practices. In 2024, when we were doing meeting minutes, we saw that there was discussion with Kate Cullison about, I think previously the committee had maybe been meeting on a monthly basis, or there was discussion of meeting on a monthly basis, and it was moved to an as needed. With the current workload, I feel it would be beneficial for the committee to meet on a monthly basis, to have at least one regularly scheduled meeting per month. Of course, if there are no substantive agenda items, the meeting will be canceled for that month. We'd also like to reserve the option to schedule a second meeting in a month for urgent matters or heavy review cycles. I understand that you folks are very busy and have very important jobs, and I don't want to infringe on that. So we're not going to pursue that second meeting unless it's an emergency situation. We don't want to make that the norm because we know your time comes at a premium. Also, for HCP, you folks are our main focus. So we just wanted to make sure when we send out calendar invites and whatnot, after I've polled you folks and we've decided that we're going to have a meeting, when a calendar commitment is sent out, just to make sure to hold that time on your calendar, protect that time on your calendars so that we can protect quorum and prevent double booking. And then also, if you do confirm that you can attend a meeting, just treat those confirmed dates as firm calendar holds upon receipt of the meeting invitation to avoid any scheduling conflicts that may come up. And then just to remind you, I know we've kind of plugged this at some other meetings, but of another tool in the toolbox you folks have, this could be potentially helpful for KIUC, is the Permitted Interaction Group, or the PIG. This could be helpful for complex HCP reviews, technical modeling, or deep dive analysis to streamline committee decision making. So just wanted to remind you folks, it's a 3-step process, requires 3 meetings. The first one is the formation of the PIG. You folks will take a vote on that. You'll define the scope of what the PIG is and then assign members. Just as a reminder, it needs to be less than quorum, so it could be up to 3 members in this case. Meeting number 2 is a report out from the PIG presenting the findings to the committee. There's no debate or vote, it's just a sharing session. And then the third meeting is deliberation from the committee on those items, and then voting on any recommendations that may come out of that. So just to remind you folks that tools in the toolbox may be helpful, up to you. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I have some questions.
Yes.
I'm particularly have specific questions about what our roles and responsibilities are as ESRC members, as relates to the federal endangered species law and federal incidental take licenses. I'm not sure if we can discuss that openly or we need to call for executive session.
Sounds like a Danica question.
Are you asking whether you guys have a role in federal HCPs?
No. I have a question about, the federal take license is contingent upon compliance with the state laws.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what our roles and responsibilities are in determining that compliance.
If something was brought before the ESRC, like if you guys were asked to opine if a HCP holder, ITL holder was in compliance, then you guys would make your recommendations and that would go in compliance with state law. You would make your recommendation whether or not that entity you believe is in compliance or out of compliance. And then that would be, if it's non-compliance, that would go to the Board of Land and Natural Resources for final determination. So you guys would say we recommend that this entity be found to be not in compliance with chapter 195D. And then it goes to the board and they would look at your recommendation and anything else and they would make a final determination.
Okay, that sounds really reactive. I'm wondering, I'm concerned that there's an applicant who is claiming they're in compliance with state law, whereas I don't think they are. And based on that claim, I'm worried the feds will give them an incentive to take license, even though I think they are not in compliance. So I'm wondering what determines compliance? Is it a vote by us, or can an applicant just claim compliance and run with that? And then
I think an applicant could claim compliance to the federal government and they can make that claim, and if there's nothing in the federal government's record to rebut that, then the federal government is likely just to take them at their word. So hold on, I'm pulling up your guys' statute.
You sure we don't need to be in executive session to discuss this?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, I make a motion to move to executive session so we can discuss with our council the responsibilities associated with Chapter 195D as relates to determining compliance.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and start executive session and we'll be back here shortly.
But do we need a second and a vote?
Yeah, I think you need
I'm
a
sorry.
second first.
I'll second that.
Can I, just to clarify, I see that Melissa is not here, so I'm assuming that Kavika is serving as the UH person now?
Yeah, I guess I'm up. Good thing I'm here.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, I see her screen, but not her human.
So
Okay,
I just
it's
want
getting
to
confusing.
procedurally be sure
Yeah,
that,
that's a good point.
yeah.
Does she,
Can-
do we know
can I
where
make
she
a
went?
motion
Does
as an
she want to
alternate
be
or
in
not?
this?
Yeah, it looks like Melissa's not here, so I think I'm up.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, did we vote to go into executive session? Okay, let's just start over. If we're gonna move into executive session, Melissa's out, Kavika's voting at this point if he wants. I'd like to make a vote to move into executive session. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. And so a vote was taken to move into executive session, so we'll go ahead and do that now.
Lindsay, your camera's still on.
All right. Just want to make a note that we were in executive session for the last few minutes. We had a discussion with the ESRC to review duties, roles, and responsibilities related to compliance with state laws. And we are back over here now to continue with our meeting. And Lindsay Young jumped off also, but we still have quorum. And we're actually on to adjournment at this point. Jesse, did you have anything else for the group?
Thank you, Jason. No, I do not have anything else for the group. Thank you for your service to our protected species. Thank you, Lisa, for everything that you've done for us and for DOFA throughout the years. You'll be sorely missed. So I'm glad that I was able to meet you and interact with you just for a little bit of time.
Thanks, Jesse.
Jason, sorry, I may have missed it. Did you already give the language for what happened in executive session that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, sorry, it took me a little bit to get switched over.
Did you guys have any comments before we move to our adjournment item? Okay. All right, so our next agenda item is adjournment. I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye or keep your hand raised. Looks like it's unanimous. So the motion passes unanimously. The time is 11:35, and we'll call the ESRC public meeting to closure adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, you guys. Take care.
Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks, Danica.